It's basically like an OP infinite Yotamir that you can't even see. So it seems like up to this point in the series, they need some sort of other way to overcome it. Because if it's conceptual rather than a physical thing, Genjutsu isn't going to work. People say that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
If Sasuke tries to use Genjutsu on Daemon, what's going to happen is because all Genjutsu is concentration of chakra in the eyes that gets sent to the other person. So it's basically like a ki blast that you can't see from your eyes. Imagine Delta's beam. That's Genjutsu, but you can't see it. So when it hits the person, it just disrupts their chakra network, which puts them in the Genjutsu. So
Hmm.
because Genjutsu is technically a physical attack that you can't see, Sasuke tries to do Genjutsu on Daemon, Sasuke is just going to fall under the Genjutsu himself, and Daemon's going to be just fine.
Isn't he susceptible against genjutsu? I mean, I guess if it's his own, how you get put under your own genjutsu, I don't know. Like Sasuke, he seems like he's more talented than that.
I'm not sure if Genjutsu would be able to be reflected, but I get the idea. By the way, what Darren Vartanian said a little bit earlier, that right there could possibly be a good counter to Damon's abilities. For example, setting up the virus with Boro's ability. Boro himself will never really get affected by the virus because he has like antibodies to the virus. But hypothetically, if Damon is still like in the area, Damon might still like be a little bit affected by the virus because he himself doesn't necessarily have the antibodies. It's not necessarily like confirmed that Damon's like completely impenetrable to everything. We've seen physical attacks be reflected, but not necessarily everything. So
I get
that's
what
a
you're
good idea.
saying now. Like the virus isn't a physical attack, so it should, in sense, work on him because you're not trying to like the you're not physically harming him. Is what it's the viruses that are.
But
I definitely,
you
I
never
do
know because
like the virus answer. It seems more like a
mm,
long-term effect, sort of how they defeated Urashiki, of it being sort of a time manipulation thing of poison.
Right.
It was kind of weird, but the only problem I think with that is we've seen that area of effect attacks don't have any impact on him. In the 2 chapters ago, Kawaki did an area of effect explosion, but Damon wasn't affected at all. It was all Kawaki. In fact, it wasn't even Code. If it was area of effect, Code would have at least been affected, even if Damon wasn't. But because it was only applied to Kawaki, that proves that it's literally a reflection of the attack onto the user rather than sort of a shield, if that makes sense. So it is conceptual.
hmm.
Mm.
No,
Yeah.
I completely get. One of the other things that I kind of thought in regards to Damon's weaknesses would probably be like a time interval thing. I kind of talked about this before in the pod, but it'll essentially be like similar to the pain thing, where we kind of thought that Pain's almighty push was like the end all be all, it's like the greatest defense of all time. But
Mm.
later we found out there was like a 5 second interval where we had to, like
A cool down
yeah, we had
period.
to attack Pain. Yeah, there's a cooldown period. Now, no one has really attacked Damon like in consecutive attacks to
Right.
kind of test that. I think that right there could definitely be a reason why no one really tried to test it. They probably are trying to hold that until a little bit later on. That's definitely one way. Another one, I kind of thought there might be like an overheating thing with Damon, like hypothetically, and of course this right here is like very small. I'm not even sure if Damon would even try to reflect this if he even has the option to turn it off. But hypothetically, if you throw like a kunai at Damon, you see what I'm saying? Even if that gets reflected to you, it wouldn't necessarily be much. But let's say you throw 1,000 kunai at Damon, and it wouldn't necessarily be that crazy. Like hypothetically, if it's like a Sasuke or Naruto that's throwing 1,000 kunai at him, throw one kunai, have Naruto do the multiple the shadow clone jutsu on the kunai, and of course have that multiply into 1,000, similar to kind of what he did to Momoshiki, but that was the other thing, the Demon One Shuriken. But have that, it might be a certain situation where he might actually overheat. The scientific technology in his body may actually overheat, similar to what we did actually get to see with Kawaki. But of course, that was a little bit different, mainly because he did have the carbon still. But similar to what we do get to see with a lot of cyborgs and of course regular machinery, technology does overheat, and of course, I think it's possible that we do see something like that in the future. That's of course if he has the option to turn it off and turn it back on, because Kunai he could probably easily block something like that.
Crud season in the chat. He said something. It caught my eye real quick. He said they did show Damon sleeping for multiple chapters, so he may need to recharge his abilities to reflect. So it's possible that he has an infinite amount of how many times he can reflect attacks. Going back
Yeah,
to what you said. Mm-hmm.
100% agree. If I was the writers, the way I would write Damon's weakness into his ability is that it has something to do with time, whether it's a time interval like Pain's ability, or whether it's a time limit like Obito's Kamui, or if it's like he's saying, like an overheating thing, or even it puts him to sleep. He has to sort of recharge it because it takes a lot of power to perform the ability. The only other answer would be it'd be similar to Ada's thing where Otsutsuki's just don't it just doesn't apply to Otsutsuki's for whatever reason. Ada's ability is weird on that instance. So you could argue it would be the same for Daemon. There's nothing to prove it, say, but you can make the induction nonetheless.
Yeah, you can make the argument. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Well,
one of the questions I did. Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask. One of the questions I want to ask about Damon. We haven't necessarily seen him legitimately fight against another, worthy opponent. Like we did see him, of course, destroy some a couple of guards and stuff like that. But in regards to his taijutsu, how fast and strong do you guys think he is?
Do you think that he has any taijutsu ability at all? Like, he doesn't seem like
We
he's
did.
been sleeping. We seen him.
We did see him. We seen him destroy some guards, but I'm not sure. We can't really put that much stock into it. Like, let's keep it 1,000.
But the guards was pretty much just getting their attacks reflected. They was just pretty much showcasing Damon's abilities with those guards. They all took axes to the face.
There was one guard he kind of kicked in the neck, I believe.
I don't remember.
He did kind of jump on Code.
I would have to read that again. Oh, you said he did jump on Code, so like he has. He's athletic, I guess. If you want to give him that.
Yeah, that. But I'll try to find a chapter where he jumped on a guard. But yeah, not jumped on a guard. He kind of kicked a guard. But I was kind of thinking it's possible that David might be a character, and we've never really had a character like this. But he might be a character where he can You can make a legitimate case that he can defeat a Naruto, a Sasuke, or Kawaki in his second stage of the Carbon Seal version 3 or V3 of the Carbon Seal. But he could also possibly lose to a character like Sarada if he's legitimately vulnerable to Genjutsu. Like, it's that crazy with Daemon. So I think Taijutsu would be a very good indicator, of course, where to put him. Hypothetically, if he has a Taijutsu ability of like actual Sarada, or even let's even bump him up to let's say let's say like a 70-year-old Rock Lee or something like that. Even just that Taijutsu ability, or possibly even like as like a base Momoshiki speed.
Yo,
that right there would possibly humanize him a little bit more.
What if? Sorry to cut you off, Bart. What if that's his weakness and his taijutsu? Like that's not a weapon or anything. You just punch him. So like, what if you punch him and it actually sticks? Like, do you see a punch being reflected on somebody where they get punched in the face back? I mean, I know it's like super possible, but like, what if that's his actual weakness? Like, it's actually just taijutsu. It's like it's just one of the like weakest weaknesses you can ever think of in your life, but it's actually funny as hell.
What Udi was talking about, like if he's genuinely deficient in taijutsu, he could reflect just the intent. So I like even before you actually get punched, you feel me? Like you might even catch your own punch in the face before you even try to throw it. So I
want to see that.
Yeah, so I think there's a very good chance that he could reflect taijutsu, but if he can't, I mean that's one of the biggest weaknesses and one of the biggest plot points that we have yet to see.
I want to see them reflect a punch, bro. I want to see it happen. That's gonna be the funniest panel in the whole manga to me. I just want to see how they do it.
Yo, if they're doing that, they need to bring Lee in there, give him some hard work thing to do. He'll take his own punches and he'll throw the punches no matter what. That'd be the best chapter right there of the year.
Or like how you guys said, like also like if they like just throwing kunai, but they're not like throwing like life threatening or like what is it what's the part
lethal?
Like, lethal, yeah, they're not throwing like lethal blows and stuff like that. It's just like hitting them in the arms and shit. They, pretty much immune to that. They can handle pain. So if that's the only thing that he's reflecting, it's a punch or something like that. It's not really gonna hurt him.
Yeah, one of the things that I was really questioning about Damon's abilities. Is it a certain situation where it doesn't necessarily matter about the actual weapon, just the pain and the actual impact that your attack that you were essentially intending to hit Daemon with, is that just going to hit you? Like, for example, if Sasuke has a Susanoo out and he throws a kunai at Daemon, does the kunai then hit the Susanoo, or does the kunai hit Sasuke, or the impact of the kunai?
See, that's an interesting question because, like, when the guards throw the axe, you don't see the axe flying back to them. You just see the axe in the dude's skull.
Yeah.
You know, like it just
Good point.
appeared there. You know what I'm saying? So that's an
It might just
interesting question.
be a manga thing because obviously they're
It's just
limited in the
panels, right?
panels.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's true. That's true. But I think they would have just gave us an extra panel of that whatever that weapon going back, or like we seeing it being reflected back, just to give us an idea of what his abilities does, because it just, like I said, it just appeared in his head. Like he didn't have a chance to like duck, dodge, anything like that. So unless that's just come like the speed of light or something like that.
No, I fully
Yep.
agree. I think that is how the ability works. It doesn't reflect the attack; it just puts it onto the user automatically.
Like his
So
belt,
it
like Cole's
it
belt, for
basically
instance.
flying thunder gods the ability onto the user.
That's the best like description I've heard in a while.